Hi, everyone. Let's try this again. So, I did a live, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and I got feedback that you couldn't hear what I was saying. And I realized that I was doing this on my computer. And when I FaceTime on my computer, the other party couldn't hear me. So, I'm trying this on my phone. But I just wanted to pop on and hi, all at once. Thanks for joining. This is my second live, but I went live before and apparently no one could hear me. So I'm trying this on my phone. So if you can hear me, maybe give me a thumbs up or put in the chat something because that would be awful that I'm just talking and nobody can hear me. So I'm hoping that that is the case. But I just wanted to show my face, um, be present, be live, and kind of give a little bit of the behind the scenes of why the Substack exists. Um, I am a person who is all about authenticity and putting my truth out there, and really, as I have said in notes, using my throat chakra. Coming from a place of not feeling like I felt safe enough to communicate, to be able to express myself in a way that is comfortable. I have found that journaling was always my mode of communication. And so when I discovered Substack, I was like, oh, this is great. I can just take my journal prompts and put them in a way that it can connect to others and I can create frameworks. But what I really found was Substack became a place that I was finding other like minded people who, really wanted that depth and that connection. Hi, thank you for joining. This is my first live. I'm just kind of free flowing here, giving a little bit of background as to who I am in this context. But I felt that Substack really was a place where I could express how I felt. I could put into words what I was experiencing. So, my background is special education, and I've worked with a variety of students, but I've also been self employed for 4.5 years. And it really wasn't until my entrepreneurial journey that I started learning more about myself and really understanding what a nervous system was. And so, coming from an environment that was very unsettling, unstable, unpredictable, I had to create my own safety. And so, as I, matured in my adulthood, became a mom, a wife, life responsibilities, life became almost unbearable for me. And I had been in therapy and I had been working on myself for years, but it wasn't until the entrepreneurial journey and then understanding the nervous system was when I really was like, wow, everybody has a nervous system. People are really running on autopilot on these loops and in these loops, and they're having a hard time understanding the patterns that they're repeating and wanting something different. And so I went inward and I got to a point where talk therapy just wasn't enough for me. And I don't think I had conceptualized what the trauma had done to my body. And so I started seeking somatic healing. And it wasn't until January of this year that I decided to then really kind of put what I was processing and going through with grief and a whole bunch of things that I wasn't able to really understand. But I said, Substack is a place where I can write, I can put my thoughts out there, I can connect with other like minded people. And so I had been putting out, thoughts in January. And it wasn't until April when I started acupuncture that everything really came together for me. So I had been doing breath work for about a year, probably a year and change now. And that really solidified a lot for me because I realized that the talking wasn't enough. There was trauma still in my body that I needed to release. And I didn't know what I needed to release. So the combination of holotropic breath work, which I now do quarterly. It's a quarterly practice. And then also doing acupuncture. So I actually went to acupuncture for a chronic hip issue that I was having because I'm a former Division 1 athlete. And I am a recovering perfectionist, if you will, of like having to perform, feeling like my performance is worthiness. And I've learned in all of my healing tools that none of that is actually important. I don't need to perform to be loved or to be appreciated, but I have to unlearn that. And so I had kept this physical trauma and emotional trauma in my hip joint for probably almost 20 years. And I had gone to PT, I had seen an orthopedic, I had gotten an MRI, and none of that helped. But when I went to acupuncture, it really helped release a lot of stress and tension and trauma and all these things. And I was seeing her twice a week. And then eventually things were releasing in my body. And then things would bubble up and then I would put it all in Substack. And nothing was organized or solidified. It was just, let me get this out here because I know somebody can relate to this. Right. And so I did my first Reiki session. So I was going through all of this somatic healing, reading books, going to therapy, all of this. And I realized like so much was coming up that I realized was not mine, was not, this was passed down generational traumas of like, wow, this actually wasn't mine to carry. I can release this. And so a month ago, I did my very first nervous system reset, which was a massive eye opener. I'd never seen such a practitioner have so many modalities of coaching, sound baths, Reiki. Um, there was something about horse therapy that was in there. I mean, this was like a 3-hour intensive nervous system reset of releasing. And so I've been doing all of this work. I've been undoing a lot of things and mindset shifts and all of this. And so I come to Substack with my lived experience with I'm really very much an actionable person. I'm a Capricorn. I'm all about, what do we do? How do we, move forward? And so having my level of just curiosity and getting to the root of things, I'm like, well, what's a framework? What's something that's practical? I mean, I'm an open book. I will share things, but I want people to not feel like this is a bitch fest. Like everybody has trauma, everybody has their stories, right? But like, how do we move through that? How do we move forward? And so I found that talking about regulating our nervous system is really my life's work. Being a special educator, working with dysregulated kids, working with dysregulated teachers, working with a dysregulated self for me, because education can be very unsettling in public school and even in private schools. And I've worked in a variety of different educational settings. And so, kind of examining my professional lens, then looking at my personal lens as a parent, and then also as a person who has had undiagnosed ADHD for 21 years, then getting a diagnosis, not having the support from my nuclear family, literally ignoring that whole neurodiverse side of myself for 16 years. And I did not have to face any of that until entrepreneurship, which was 4.5 years ago. And so, so much has come to the surface, and so much of what I write about is very much lived, and I want to share. And just recently, I went up to Boston, my alma mater, for earning my doctorate degree at Northeastern University. I was invited to their third annual neurodiversity conference. Now, this was very eye-opening for me because I was invited to be on the intersectionality panel. So basically, it was me as a Black woman. Then there was a Black man who was a current student at Northeastern who was diagnosed with autism. Then there was a transgender man who was a rising senior who talked about their story being born female in a Latino and Chinese community in Baton Rouge and having mental health issues, physical, medical issues, and really just struggling with mental health their whole entire lives while transitioning and being neurodiverse. And then there was a non binary person who was on the stage as well. So, this intersectionality panel, which I talked about in one of my Substacks, was eye opening for me because first of all, I was never around people. I was always the advocate for the kids in the family. No one ever advocated for me. And so it felt very nurturing to be in a place where I was asked to share my story. I was asked to talk about what does neurodiversity mean to me in the context of the intersectionalities. And so I learned a lot. They had a panel on workplace, they had a panel on higher ed, they had a masking session. I mean, it was just the kind of place where I was like, wow, it took me 39 years to get here, but I'm glad because this was my journey. And I just am all about regulating my nervous system. And so, really, it leads me into the candles that I create. So, I never knew that I was a creative person. I don't think I viewed myself as a creative until entrepreneurship. And so what I noticed was for my own sensory needs and calming my body, I always leaned into candles. And so I was, I'm sure all of you guys out there, Yankee Candles, Bath and Body Works, that was me. I was that go-to girl. But then as I started learning more about what was in those candles, it was chemicals, it was things that weren't safe for our environment, for our body. So I just decided, why don't I make my own candles? And then of course it turned into a whole project. Then it turned into a business, and now I'm a year and change into it. But as I've been making these candles, I'm always like asking that deeper question. Anybody can buy a damn candle, right? But why buy mine? Well, because the story is about regulating the neurodivergent soul. It's about regulating your space. As you see, I have a TV back here. I have everyone in my house knows I'm all about the calm ambiances. I want the backgrounds that are going to make me feel safe. I can use my imagination. I can look at nature. I can look at the water, whatever it is. I want that. I want some incense. I want candles. I want my smudge. I want something that is going to let my body know that I am safe. And that then turned into me creating my ritual box. And my ritual box is not a selling point. I have been sold to, I've been scammed, I've followed other people's blueprints. I've tried the whole hustle culture, I've done it all. And throughout it all, I've lost thousands of dollars, I've lost dignity, I felt shame about being scammed and believing people and thinking that what they really are selling to me is really, what what is actually supposed to be, but I've had to learn the hard way. And so for me, it's about an invitation to coming home to yourself. And that is essentially what my page is all about. Me sharing my reflections, me sharing what neurodiversity means and the mindset of and the lens of um, regulating your nervous system, but also using tools that can help you feel safe and come home to yourself. So I just wanted to kind of pop on, free flow, share a little bit about myself. I think it's really important to connect. Thank you so much for the hearts. I really appreciate it. I mean, Substack has been just so great. I used to do Instagram lives, and I just feel that everything is so transactional in our world today. Everything is urgent, everything is now. And I'm tired of that. If I could, I would go move to a monastery, just I don't have to worry about money, have to worry about bills, all of that. But that's not the reality in the life, in the world that we live in right now. But I'm just really about discernment, authenticity, curiosity, leaning into how do I feel about things. Give me time to think and process. And that's what I feel Substack has offered. So I hope those of you who are here, if you haven't seen, take a look at my work. If you would love to subscribe, I would appreciate that. But feel free to reach out. I love talking to people. I'm definitely an extrovert. I love connecting with people. That's really important to me. So I just wanted to pop on and give a little bit of hello. So I'll probably do these randomly, but I just wanted to say hi. So enjoy the rest of wherever you are in the world, and be well, be safe, and stay regulated.